Today on the podcast, I'm joined by Alison Keene, president of the International Sleep Products Association and one of the most influential voices in government affairs, sustainability, and mattress recycling. Today, we're breaking down why advocacy matters, what ISPA is rolling out in 2026, and it goes even beyond Expo, and how AI is starting to shape the future of our industry. Alison Keene is here, and the FAM podcast starts right now. For the first time ever, top retailers can introduce the mattress that's been locked away inside of one of America's top mattress retailers until now. Introducing Prana Sleep, the ultimate luxury mattress collection designed by lifelong sleep industry leaders who set out to create the best sleep experience imaginable at any cost. Born from decades of industry expertise and real-world retail feedback, Prana Sleep doesn't just sell mattresses, it sells satisfaction, loyalty, and premium performance. Now, Prana Sleep is awarding these unparalleled products to a select group of top-tier retailers. Proudly made in the USA, Prana Sleep mattresses are handcrafted in private factories by top-tier craftspeople, ensuring exceptional quality and detail. What sets Prana Sleep apart? 100% natural materials, luxury latex, and the only machines in the world that quilt latex directly into the top panel for a one-of-a-kind, indulgent feel. Stand out in the marketplace with a mattress line engineered for luxury and crafted for those who demand the best. Your competition will hate selling against Prana Sleep because nothing compares. Prana Sleep, bring the secret to success into your stores today. Go to pranasleep.com now to apply. Vegas market is about momentum, and that's exactly what you'll feel the second you step into Elite Comfort Solutions and Leggett & Platt showroom. Their newly redesigned space is built for retailers who want to sell smarter. Private label strategy, performance storytelling, and innovation you can actually put to work on your floor. This is where ideas turn into programs that win. Make plans to stop by showroom B1326 no matter what. And be sure to join Elite Comfort Solutions and Leggett & Platt from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Monday, January 26th for a special networking event with it. Come for the innovation, stay for the conversation. B1326, Vegas Market, don't miss it.
Welcome to the FAM podcast with Mark Kinsley. This is where the best in the bedding business get even better.
Alison, welcome to the podcast. I have to start right here. Let's start and let's talk about San Antonio and let's talk about the guacamole making competition.
All right, I was going to start with I'm not sure I'm the most influential, but certainly not in guacamole because that was a curveball that y'all threw at us and probably a good life lesson on how to team build and then pivot the minute your team is something completely different than what you had.
I'm so happy that when we were at the Culinary Institute of America for Dream Camp in San Antonio, and I threw that curveball, the very first thing I said was, put your knives down, because the reaction afterward, I thought that people were going to be pointing knives at me and coming and burning me in effigy. I mean, people were not happy. So okay, paint a picture
bitter.
For those who don't know what happened.
We were bitter. Well, as one of the team members that got pulled from my original team onto the new one, and I really think I'm a great guacamole maker, by the way. I was bitter. I think I was still mad the next day with a couple of my colleagues, right? I want to stay with my team. I want to finish my guacamole. I do not want to start on somebody else's, but there you go.
Yeah, so for people who don't know, we were at the Culinary Institute of America, and we had stations like in galleys, and each galley had a team of 6 at one end and a team of 6 at the other end. So they could kind of see each other. I blew a whistle and I said, put your knives down, check the tag on your apron. And if you have a blue tag, you go to the other team and that person comes to your team. So every single team got a new team member and they lost a team member right in the middle of the guacamole and food making competition. And so I didn't know what was going to happen, but I love the idea of how often does this go on in real life? Like in mattress retail, you're going to lose a team member in the same day and gain a new team member. How do you onboard? How do you interact, especially in the middle of all the chaos? What were your observations on that besides everybody being really ticked off at me?
I mean, besides my internal observations of, wow, you didn't do very good at that disruption, did you, Allison? Right? I was like, so I was like, I was mad, but I was also mad at myself. Like, that would have been an opportunity to introduce myself to the new team and ask where I could help and what I could do. And instead, I was still like shouting messages to my old team, like, don't forget the red onion, that. So internally, I was like, well, that you probably could have done a little better job of that. But it's a good life lesson, right? And I do think in hindsight, like talking to everybody the next day, I mean, it was fun to do that, but it was even more fun to look internally and then externally at your colleagues to how everybody dealt with that disruption, and then be able to talk about it, self-reflection and outward reflection the next day. So it just added another, pun intended, spice to the whole exercise.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. It was completely unexpected what would happen whenever I was dreaming about Dream Camp in my mind. But I always like to have those moments where we throw in some surprise and delight. And it was one of those situations where I was pulled aside later on. I remember Derek Ritzel. I thought he was going to fight me in public. The reactions were just beyond me. But hey, I mean, you've been in your new role. I mean, I call it new, but you've been in this new role and you've had to like onboard with new team members and you've had to become this leader in this new organization. So you've had a little bit of what happened at Guacamole Fest in your new role.
Yeah.
Tell people what you do. Tell people about your experience coming into ISPA.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, ISPAs are the big trade association that represents manufacturers of mattresses in the United States and internationally. But we also have a foundational arm called the Mattress Recycling Council. So for any state that has product stewardship or mattress recycling stewardship bills and laws, we operate them. I was not from the industry to begin with. I came from packaging 8 years, and then prior to packaging, paint. So always in the manufacturing field. But this is a really tight knit community. So, I think places like Dream Camp, places like Vegas Market and High Point, I mean, that was my opportunity to kind of get in there and just know folks, not necessarily put on the advocacy hat or the data hat or the president hat, right? Like just figure out folks and figure out what the industry is. And that, it is still a new position. I feel like you need at least like 3 years to like learn a brand new industry. But for me, it was more important just to kind of get to know folks and understand what they needed from our organization, but also what they needed from me as a leader. And so that's really what I've been concentrating on over the last year. We also, this is a down time as far as, the economy is concerned, mattress, furniture, even the service sectors. So really looking at ISPA under the old leadership who had been here a really long time, did a great job, but fresh ideas, fresh approaches. What do you need to do to adapt to a very changing environment and quite frankly, a challenging economic one? So it's sometimes it feels like it's been more like 5 years than a year and a half.
You've been in a bedding boot camp for sure. Okay, so
Yeah.
this is a big change. I mean, I remember I was on the Better Sleep Council. I used to work at Leggett and Platt. We were very involved in ISPA, and it was always focused on manufacturers and not really on the retail side of the business. And recently, ISPA is expanding its membership model. Like, who's it for now, and why was that shift necessary?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's still for the core, members that we have. So if you think about your bedding manufacturer or assembler, you think about your supplier. So whether you're supplying foam, chemicals into foam or wood or springs, those are still our core manufacturers. You could tell me more than I can tell anybody else. The minute I came in, everybody's like, 10 years ago, you didn't buy a bed in the box. 10 years ago, there was only a couple direct to consumer manufacturers. 10 years ago, there wasn't as much, integration so that you have a manufacturer of chemicals that also does foam, that, does bedding components that manufactures a bed. Brick and mortar retail stores are also online, and online is also direct to consumer, right? So I think the board already had started to look at what does the entire supply chain look like and how do we add that value and that voice to the mattress industry. They just hadn't taken the last steps. When I came on board, we had a new strategic plan that we put in place last March, and we hit the ground running with what does the new mattress industry look like and who are all of those different value partners and how do we bring them into the fold. So core membership stayed the same, but we added affiliate members, which is your retail category. And we added top of bed accessories. They were actually part of ISPA before, but they're sort of thrown into the manufacturing group of bedding, and it's different. It's very different from a manufacturing standpoint and a sales standpoint. So now accessories is their own. And then finally, we have a lot of supporting organizations, whether it's testing providers or it's buying groups or it's manufacturers representatives. We had a whole bunch of folks saying, like, we want to be part of the conversation, but there's no place for us. So we have this sort of catch-all supporting category of anybody who wants to help us promote and protect the industry, but may not fall into those very, more nuanced manufacturing or retail categories that we now have.
And so you open the aperture and membership has increased, I assume.
I hope. It just went into effect January 1st, 2026. So,
Okay,
we'll be working on it the entire year, and you can ask me next year whether or not I did a good job.
Well, I think it's a good capture of reality too, which is it's not just a clean value stack. I mean, there are people participating in all different parts of the industry. And I've even heard of, folks who are traditional mattress manufacturers, but maybe they open up one retail store, out of the back of their factory, and then they join Nationwide, for example. So
Yes.
they get in
Yes.
as a retailer. And I'm like, those type of things are going to happen. It's just not clean like it used to be. And people are trying to grow their businesses. There's been a lot of consolidation. There's been everything with tariffs and imports. It's just not clean.
No, M&A has definitely reshaped the industry, as well as sort of that bed in the box, easier direct to consumer e-commerce, and it'll continue to shape that, particularly with the fully integrated companies. So we just need to represent what the industry looks like today, and I think with the changes that we made for 2026, we'll be able to do that.
Well, speaking of 2026, in the near term, we have ISPA Expo. So for those who don't know, it happens once every 2 years, and it's a big, giant trade show where literally there are mattress manufacturing facilities set up on the trade room floor. It is incredible. So what's on tap for ISPA Expo?
Suppliers. So the manufacturers are coming to the suppliers. They'll be set up on the trade folks. So look, I'm not sure because this is my first expo also, right? So I'm really excited that we're going to see, again, all the suppliers showing all their wares. Anything that they've got new that they didn't already show in Vegas is going to be on the floor in Orlando in March. And it just gives the industry a good time to come together, see what everybody is offering, make those networking connections, hopefully make those sales. And get well positioned, for 2026 and 2027. So yeah, there's also going to be a lot of, besides the networking and the hopefully buying and selling, there's going to be a lot of programming too. So for example, we'll do a panel of advocacy and what we're working on. We'll talk a little bit later today about that. We'll have a sustainability speaker there, and we're going to have you there talking about AI. So I'm really excited for that. I think it's just the next level of where we're going to take not only manufacturing, but sales and retail as well.
And some of your members have already heard me speak. I mean, I've given private sessions to different mattress manufacturers and their executive teams and continue to support them with AI opportunities and learning, what I call applying AI thinking. So I'm really excited to come speak to the group because it's beautiful because even if I speak about this 3 months ago, fast forward and it's all changed. I mean, it really is like a real-time conversation in a lot of ways about fundamental skills are still going to be there, but applying like automation and agentics to your business and where this thing's actually headed and how to unlock enterprise value. That's what people are kind of focused on right now. It's like, teach me a little bit, get my people involved. And then we need these like groups and consortiums thinking about it and applying that AI thinking. So I can't wait to be on the main stage or one of the main stages there during the breakfast session. It's a lot of fun.
Yes. I mean, when I heard you speak on it at DreamCam last year, I was blown away, particularly because of somebody coming not from the tech world and not, understanding it, but not utilizing it and thinking, oh, that's really cool, but how do you even get started? Like, you showed practical examples of how folks in this industry can use it to make their lives easier, work smarter, not harder tomorrow. And to your point, it changes rapidly. It changes as often as tariff policy does in this country, right? So you have to kind of keep learning, and for somebody to help us do that, we're really excited to have that session.
Okay, let's go back to, thank you very much for having me in advance. Let's go back to this tariff conversation. So you're in DC, Virginia area. Help us understand, like, what is the chatter within a very political universe, which is Washington, DC? What is like the day-to-day chatter behind the scenes about all the whiplash that happens both in the media and with tariff policies and, things feeling quite unstable, I think, to the average consumer? What does that talk like?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's any different than what you're hearing in the Midwest or somebody on the West Coast would versus East Coast or being in what we call the DMV, right? The DC, Maryland, Virginia. It is uncertainty at its core. I think the difference is normally inside the DMV or inside the Beltway, as we call it, on the Hill, we would know about it and we'd be telling you about it and maybe trying to explain it. Instead, it's been so loud and so uncertain that I think the entire universe is sort of hearing about it instead, right? So we're not really telling you what's happening, but we're trying to help you navigate it and explain it. And the best way I can do that is it's twofold. Number one, most of these tariffs and trade policy are not trying to really get at reshoring manufacturing in the United States. They are a lever that this administration is pulling to try to get something else for the most part. I'd say 70-75%. It's a lever because they're trying to get some other tactic or they're using it as a tactic to get some negotiated outcome. However, there is part of that really is looking at how do we get manufacturing back to the United States? How do we approach manufacturing from a security standpoint, i.e., if we make it here, we can rely on us. If we make it someplace else, can we rely on that trading partner? But I think the administration, what most people don't know, is the administration knows that that's only one part of the story. So the other part of the story is, okay, administration, we understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. How can we help you achieve that? How can we come to you and say, okay, we understand what you're trying to do. We understand the one lever you pulled, but here are the other levers that we need for you to help us pull, or we can enable you to pull. Meaning we may not get all manufacturing back in the United States at some point, but who are our good trading partners and how do we continue to have those partnerships so that we can at least get the components we need to actually manufacture in the United States, right? So that's what we try to do, is we try to instill upon the association or instill upon the administration the association's priorities based on the membership. And remember, we're also trying to say, like, pay attention to mattresses because we're all in this boat together, right? Trade and tariffs has impacted every manufacturing sector and some service sectors as well. When you think about visas and trying to get people over, et cetera, so we've got to sort of rise above that noise and give the administration the solutions that we need to continue operating in the United States and continue manufacturing in the United States.
It's always been something that I'm very proud of for our industry, and it goes back, tip of the cat, to ISPA. And it is the fact that we've been able to maintain a domestic supply chain in many capacities and a lot of domestic manufacturing capacity. And I remember I was at Leggett and I got a LinkedIn message from a Chinese company, and they were trying to sell queen size mattresses, 8-inch foam mattresses for $26 a piece. And, obviously they're trying to just saturate the market, get people to go out of business, and then they can come in and raise the prices and make money, I assume. But ultimately, we were looking at that, and this got back up to ISPA, and everybody in the industry, for the most part, they were seeing these similar prices, and these lists were floating around, and there were no, tariffs, and they were just, kind of dumping this product in the United States. And that happened to the furniture industry many years ago, and the furniture industry disappeared, and we fought it. And we fought for that domestic manufacturing. We fought to keep out unfair pricing. And, for the most part, we've done a really good job. And so I look at some of these tariffs and some of these different things, and I'm like, thank the Lord that we actually dug our heels in, and ISPA kind of went to bat for us. I know we're an international community of mattress makers, but there's still this big argument for us having a real strong domestic capacity.
Yeah, we are international, and we have some great international partners. But the difference is, if you're dumping from a place like China, you've got a subsidy behind you, and that's the Chinese government, right? And that's not fair. That's what we want trading partners, but we want fair trading partners, and it's not fair to be able to dump because you've got a government backing you to do that. And we see it, in circumvention too, right? So we have to be really, really close attention. It's not just China. It may be China moving closer to Vietnam or Thailand and then using them as an avenue to circumvent and get in through. So, I think the ITC has 13 different companies now with anti-dumping and countervailing duties, right? And so we just have to keep on top of that and make sure, again, like the administration knows we appreciate what they're doing to try to protect the US industry. And here's some other things that we think are necessary to continue to do that. Because what we don't want to happen is basically, I think, what happened in the furniture industry, and you can name others as well, is everything goes offshore because you can manufacture and produce it there and sell it cheaper than you can even manufacture here, even if some components are coming from other countries.
Gosh, it's just such a rat's nest sometimes to be able to follow where these things are going and who's, dumping product in what country. So I know it's like this constantly moving target. Luckily, like you said, it's not just about the US suppliers and manufacturers being this consortium that's only focused on their own existence. It's also good actors internationally who aren't dumping products, who do supply into the United States. And that's why I always love going to ISPA Expo and some of the other events around the world, is because it's just a joy to do business internationally. And it shows you how small this world is as you do start to branch out.
Yeah, 100%. And, look, some of our trading partners and our importers are also manufacturing here. And a lot of our manufacturers export outside of the United States, right? So it's a balance, it's a delicate balance, but I think that's why ISPA, exists and other trade associations exist for their sectors, to try to make sure that we navigate that balance for our members and that we're constantly out there while our members are out there making mattresses and selling mattresses. We're here making sure that we protect their right and their success in doing that. That's I think that's like the definition of a trade association, right?
Yeah. So what is ISPA focused on in 2026? I mean, of course, a successful expo, but what are those advocacy items that ISPA is focused on this year and beyond?
Yeah. So we, obviously we just talked about the trade and tariff policy, the USMCA, so our Mexican Canadian agreement, which we have lots of trading partners with, that's up for review. So that's going to be a big one. There are some trade policies, the IEPA, they call them, the International Day of Tariffs, which was last year. They're actually at the Supreme Court. We're waiting for a decision any day to see whether or not they were legally put in place through an executive order or whether other mechanisms need to be. So depending on that, we're going to be looking at whether or not they're going to use other mechanisms, what that use may be. In the interim, are some of our members going to get some refunds? How do we navigate that? How do we help them ensure that they get what is fair and coming to them? So that's really going to still be a big part of the federal objective this year for ISPA. We also have a couple other rules, kind of wonky rules. I won't get into the weeds, but there's a formaldehyde rule that could come with some consequences, both in bans and labeling and other sort of overreaching regulatory items, and that's for furniture and mattresses. So we're trying to get EPA to roll back that rule, or at the very least make sure that whatever risk mitigation they're going to put in for formaldehyde doesn't impact us negatively. PFAS, there's some other chemicals of concern going on at the federal level as well. PSC. So let's talk just for a second about fire barriers and how important they are. And again, going back to domestic versus imports, domestic manufacturers are doing a much better job of making sure that they are passing the 16, 32, 33 tests that you have to sell in the United States. Imports, not so much. The CPSC, the Consumer Safety Product Commission, I mean, they've gone through their own upheaval in this new administration. We're down to actually one commissioner. But the good news is we have really good relationships with the staff. And we're keeping up as much as we can with them going after bad actors, people who are selling their products in the United States that don't meet those federal fire standards. On the state level, it's really MRC all the time. It's manufacturing and mattress recycling, the way that the members and the way that our foundation wants it run, right? So we're in 4 states. We're in California, Oregon, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. We do a great job. Over 10 years, we've recycled 15 million mattresses, and we really want to see that expand. We want to see statewide, collection and recycling of mattresses in any state that's interested in us. Unfortunately, 7 states are interested in us, and 2 of them have bills that don't look anything like the programs that we operate, and would be very costly both for the producers and for the manufacturers, the producers, manufacturers, and for the retailers. So we want to ensure that any state that passes this legislation passes the program that we have. We want harmony, we want consistency. That means efficiency, which means lower cost. And so we're spending a lot of time and effort trying to get Virginia and Maryland and New Jersey and Massachusetts, who we love. We like those bills. They look great, to go ahead and get it through the finish line. And we're trying to make sure that New York and Vermont and Washington State, who have bills that we don't like, don't make it to the finish line unless they're amended. So that takes a tremendous amount of time and our effort. And it's really like January through June, right? Because that's when the sessions in most states go in. So it's hurry up and wait, and then work really, really, really hard until the interim. And then we'll take stock in June or July and see where we're at.
What is it about those bills, for example, in New York and Vermont, that ISPA looks at and says, wait a minute?
Yeah, that's a great question. It is because they either don't have a good financing system or none at all. And then in many cases, they have convenience and collection and recycling criteria that's based on paint or batteries, right? Like you have to have a collection site for every 10,000 city or population, county or population, right? Like you don't take paint or batteries back like a big bulky mattress. It's also a durable good. So you're hopefully not taking it back for 15, 20 years if you buy really, a good mattress. So we want to make sure that any system that we put in place isn't going to be overly expensive by saying, yeah, we're going to have curbside collection. You can call us on a Monday and between 1 and 1:15, we'll pick it up, from your third story apartment, right? So there's some very unrealistic convenience criteria out there. And again, if you don't have a funding source, like a lot of them will say, producer, you just pay. Well, how do you get that money? How do you attribute that sale to that state if you don't have a compliance mechanism? So right now, MRC is very easy. You sell a mattress in the state, your $15 or $20 goes right to MRC. MRC runs the entire program. Without that, it's going to be very difficult for MRC to collect the sustainable financing that we need for the program. And it's going to be even more difficult for a state oversight agency to actually prove that you sold that mattress when you sold the mattress in the state. So think again about imports versus domestic. Easier for them to go after a domestic manufacturer and say you didn't pay your fair share. Very difficult to get to that import when that exporter says you don't have any jurisdiction over me. So ours is basically, if it's sold in the state, it gets the fee attached, period, end of story, makes it simple, easy to comply with. And without that, I'm just not sure how MRC or any product stewardship organization would be able to stand up a statewide, program and ensure that they had sustainable funding to do it.
Beyond the 15, thank you for that rundown. Beyond the 15 million mattresses that have been recycled, which is a huge success, what are some of the other successes and even some of the challenges that have presented themselves as you put together these programs? Because I don't think a lot of people understand how sophisticated and involved the MRC is, both in setting up collection sites, getting these mattresses stripped down and kind of segmented out so they can go back up into either being upcycled or recycled. There's a lot there that happens that the MRC is involved in.
Yeah. And it's sometimes I say it's a thankless job because look, you are a regulated entity. We go into the state. We literally go to every single municipal government, city, county, whatever, because solid waste is local. So do you have a transfer station? Do you have a landfill? Do you already have a recycler? How do we partner with you? Meaning, how do we contract for your services and pay for them? Because MRC doesn't own trucks. We're not recyclers, right? We're just the conduit to facilitate getting that done. So every single contract has to be put in place for collection, transportation, and ultimately recycling. That's a lot of work. But once it's done, the system's in place, it's a statewide program, and consumers love it, right? Like they like to know that if they bought a new mattress and you got a white glove service and then they're picking up the old mattress, that mattress is going to get recycled and not just put in a landfill. And it's a lot cheaper when it's free, quote unquote, because somebody's already paid at the point of sale than if you have to pay, a third party or 1-800-DRUNK or even your municipal government $35 to $125, whatever it's going to be. The other aspect that I think we need to do a little bit better promotion on, we spend over $1 million a year on research for those components, right? So you think wood, easy, springs, you can recycle the steel over and over again. Getting them out of a mattress isn't the easiest thing, but once you do, you can recycle it. The foam and the textiles are the hardest, right? So foam has generally gone into carpet padding. People aren't putting as much carpet in their houses as they were before, and therefore you don't need as much carpet padding. So where else can we use that foam? The textiles. Textiles to this day, a lot of it is still going into the landfill. So how do we close that final loop so that every single part of the recycled mattress actually gets recycled into a new component? And so we're looking at things like advanced recycling, so chemical recycling, bringing it, not just chopping it up like a mechanical recycling would do, but actually bringing it back down to the monomer or the polymer and making new foam out of it again. How do we get there? Or making some other product that could go into foam as a filler or into a textile as a filler. And how do we get it regulated as a new product? Because as you know, right now, if you go across the country, you can't sell a quote unquote recycled content bed as a new bed. So how do we get in with the policymakers and change that frame of mind so that if you have like or new, because you've chemically recycled it, components, that you still get to sell a bed? Like, we already use recycled content. Steel is already recycled. We use some textile recycled content, things like that, post-industrial. But, when I'm looking in the future, 10, 20 years, how do we get post-consumer back in as a valuable raw material and make sure that the policymakers let us still sell a new bed?
$1 million a year. What are some of the insights that have surfaced? That's a ton of money on research.
It is. It's a great many. So some of the insights are, we've got a new product. No, I might even have a show and tell here. We've got a new product. It's called vitrimization. So I'm not technical, right, Mark? So this is not, it literally under very low heat and pressure, it squishes that old foam down into a piece that you can then, if you think about it, it's almost like plastic printing, right? So that you can actually extrude it again. And we've got, here's a wallet that's old foam. This is about 50% post-consumer foam, and it feels like leather and it looks like leather, but it's pleather and it used to be foam. Here's a case. So any plastic extrudable product you can actually make again. So think about just, any of your plastic plumbing accessories, or, like this is an iPhone case. So it's called Vitricycle, and we were one of the founding strategic partners for their research. Now they're off on their own. It's past the pilot, and so they're off on their own doing it. We've got another one that actually, again, this is all literally just mechanical recycling at this point. We've got another one that actually breaks it down into just the finest bits possible that can then go in and be used for filler in either new foam or in other products like car seats and other upholstered furniture. And then, like I said, the next wave is definitely going to be how do we break it back down, get back to that chemical polymer and build it back up to new foam. So that's sort of the next wave of chemical recycling that's on the horizon.
So that's in the future. Let's go to this wallet in this iPhone case that you showed.
Yeah.
So if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, of course, you can see this nice looking kind of ivory colored wallet. Looks a lot like mine, doesn't have a whole lot of money in it.
None.
I live with Tara. No, I'm just kidding, honey. I love you. So what is actually happening? So I'm just imagining if you have a big bunch of foam,
yeah,
you're putting it under some sort of extreme compression, or is there heat applied to it?
Yep. A little bit of heat, lots of compression, a ton of compression until you're just, again, so when you think about foam, it rolls out as a liquid, and then slowly but surely the chemical reaction, it gets a big, huge bun that we always see. This is basically just pressing it all the way back down with a little bit of heat and a ton of pressure, and keeping it there long enough that the foam says, I'm not coming back up, right? I give up. I'm thin again. And then you re-extrude it.
And so with something like that wallet, do you actually get the layer of material down to the same thinness as that wallet?
No, because remember, so this, I think this
cutting it out like fabric then.
Yeah. No, so this is like 50%, and I think this is 30 or 50%. So it does have new material too, but you're getting it down to as small as you possibly can to basically chop it back up, put it into a new batch, and then blow it back up again for whatever you need.
So it's almost like you're then getting into a sort of a format that you can mold. You can put it into other molds. Yeah,
injection molding, basically, or plastic printing. That's what I think about when I think about it.
And they can do this at scale right now, or this is brand new and it's just getting
They
out
can
to the
do it
world?
at scale right now. So they're looking for partners and they're looking for opportunities to put it in. And mostly they're looking at, sustainable companies that want to be able to, reuse post-consumer material. They're out of Texas and they'll be at Expo.
What's the
So
name of the company? Do you have that handy?
Vitracycle.
I thought that was the process. Okay, it's called Vitracycle is the name
So
of the company.
the process is called vitramization and the company is Vitracycle.
Well, awesome. Well, shout out to Vitracycle. Sounds like they're doing amazing work. I can't wait to come see them at ISPA Expo. So they're going to have a booth set up.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're actually going to be on the innovation stage as well.
Well, okay. What is the innovation stage?
Yeah, so during on the floor of the show, we have these little like 20 to 30-minute presentations on innovation. And so it's called the innovation stage, and you can see the agenda and you just kind of go to any just new research, new encompassing, and MRC, the Mattress Recycling Council, is actually sponsoring that. So mostly you're going to hear about this good research and folks that are finding uses for old mattress components and or thinking about design for the environment when actually manufacturing the components to begin with. So really interesting.
That is fun. I'm going to have to bring the FAM Innovation Spotlight series. We just launched this new series that's 100% focused on highlighting the people and the products that are truly moving the mattress and sleep products industry forward. Because I think we share this passion for what is new, what is different, how can we make this industry better, and what is true innovation versus what is marketing? Because we have a lot of that in the mattress industry. Yeah. That's fine. That's how we sell products.
Yep.
So the FAM Innovation Spotlight will definitely come to that big stage. I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to put you in touch with some of these folks that are doing. And again, MRC's funding it, but these folks are the innovators. They're the ones that are solving. Or like I always say, like I'm just going to give you the problem. You guys got to solve it, right? And that's why Expo and some of these conferences are so great, because you get everybody in the same room thinking and sparking ideas. And then the next thing you know, somebody comes up with a solution.
Well, I can't wait to be a part of it myself. And okay, what did I not ask, or what did we not talk about that might be important for people to know?
Well, that's a good question. We're going to be in Vegas next week. So if anybody's going to be in Vegas, I don't know when this is going to air, but if you don't see me, first of all, if you see me, come up, introduce yourself to me if I haven't met you already. If I have met you, reintroduce yourself, because again, it's only been a year and a half. And then if you're not going to be in Vegas, reach out to me. If you're in the industry, whether you're a member or not, I want to hear from you. I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know what we can do for you as an association. And I just want to learn from you, because I'm still in that learning stage. This is a very tight-knit community, and the membership is tight-knit. But we want to expand that membership, and we want to make sure that we're giving value. So I just want people to know that I have an open door. I'm accessible. I don't have all the answers. Like I said, I usually give you the problem, that you have to give me the answers. But I just, the more we learn and the more we communicate, the better ISPA is going to be able to really be the voice of the industry, whether you're a member or not. So yeah, come see me, come introduce yourself. Let's talk.
And where can they find you? They can find you on LinkedIn, or they can just drop you an email?
Yeah, 6 1 half dozen the other, right? LinkedIn, I'm just Alison Keene, and email is akeen@sleepproducts.org. Yeah, I wouldn't give my cell phone out probably.
Yeah,
but if you see me,
if you want me to get you in touch, a lot of people know, like, hey, I'm happy to get you in touch with Alison as well.
Absolutely.
My only advice is, if you see Alison in Vegas or even at ISPA, and you sit down and if you share a bowl of guacamole, don't switch it out in the middle of that meal, okay?
Don't forget your red onion.
Don't forget the red onion. Well, Alison, I'm so excited. Number one, it's been great getting to know you over this past year, and thank you for everything you're doing for this industry. Like I've heard so many positive points of proof about how we're moving forward. We're gathering more people at the table. This choir of voices, the choir is getting bigger, and I think it's starting to represent other parts and pieces of the industry, which I think is really important. We all have a seat at the table, especially as consolidation happens and these different things. Like we want to make sure that doesn't just become the industry. The consolidation doesn't define the industry. It's the innovation, it's the people, it's the recycling, it's doing what's best for consumers. And so thanks for nudging us forward and bringing us together and doing everything you're doing. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And I'm honored to take this helm. So I just need everybody to help me, and we'll be successful. I'm positive of it.
And we'll see you at ISPA Expo 2026 in Florida.
Orlando, March
Florida.
10th through the 12th. March 10th through the 12th.
10th to the 12th. I'll be there, and I hope you join me. Allison, I look forward to, hopefully on the backside here, let's get together again and let's talk about all the cool stuff that happened at Expo, and we'll have you back on the pod.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it.